the governor making an announcement that he does not see the legalization of recreational marijuana ending up in this year's budget. Sheriff Rob Mashel, it seems like your group and others have had some influence on the governor here.
Yes, I'm being cautiously optimistic because I certainly don't take this as a victory in any way whatsoever. But what this has done, and it will help everyone overall, hopefully it stays this way, but it slows the process down so that we can have legitimate, open debate, be allowed to present our side. Let the AAA present their side, let the PTA present their side, and of course the folks on the other side of the issue, let them present theirs, and then at least we can do this the proper way. But shoving this legislation down our throats in a budget is just not the way to do it because the impact is incredible. I mean, just looking at the cost impact to local counties on the law enforcement side of this issue, all the things we're going to have to deal with, and it comes with no funding. It will be another unfunded mandate, maybe one of the largest unfunded mandates that law enforcement has ever had to deal with. And it's just not fair to the counties. It's not fair to the communities. And at the end of the day, like I said, whatever side of this issue you're on, where I come from, I take an oath to protect the people of my community. I have to do whatever I can to make our community safe.
Yeah.
And in our opinion, and the sheriff's strong feeling, unanimously across this state, is that legalizing marijuana will make our community less safe.
I'm going to ask you.
What they're talking about now, or at least what we're hearing, is decriminalizing marijuana use. Your thoughts on that? And what form does that take?
Well, I don't know because you've got to see the details. But again, we unlawful possession of marijuana has always been, my 30 years of my police career, it's been a non-custodial arrest. I mean, we give people tickets. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what that means on paper, but people don't go to jail for unlawful possession of marijuana. People, when it comes to marijuana, people go to jail for possessing large quantities. People go to jail for selling it. People go to jail on other charges, and maybe the marijuana is attached to it. But people do not. That is a myth. That is a myth in our communities, in the upstate counties. I can't speak for what happens downstate. I truly cannot. If I say downstate, I mean New York City. I can't speak for what's happening there. But I know what's happening up here, and that is not happening here. And that's where we get frustrated. And it's just like I said, this is an opportunity for us to amplify our message, to get out, our complete message, because we were rolling in, high speed the past few weeks. And literally, I've been on the phone, maybe not every day, but I would say either in meetings or on the phone, this topic, I've been involved in conversations and meetings and debates probably 4 to 5 times a week since this all began. Because it is, as you know, I'm very passionate about this because I truly believe this will make our communities less safe. And we see we did a forum last night. Actually, we had 2 forums last night. There was one we were invited to at BOCES. We did one at New York Middle School with parents. Parents in communities have legitimate concerns about drugs in our community, and this is just one that like I said, it's not legal now, and it shouldn't be legal, again, for recreational use. The sheriffs wholeheartedly support medical marijuana. That is not what we are talking about. We're talking recreational use of marijuana.
Are you adding?
I'm thinking about how to phrase it. Let me blurt something out. You've talked about on previous shows the death rate on the highways, and you think it'll go up.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. There's a really good chance that people who smoke pot today drive around high all the time. And if it's being introduced to a new market, I'll say, because it's legal, bear with me here in this analogy. So, for instance, if it's my first day of drinking, I'm probably not going to go get hammered and then try to drive. It's more of a, I had 2 or 3. I think I'm fine. I know my limit, and then I drive. And if we thought the same way with marijuana, there's probably a lot of people who drive around daily high.
Yeah.
Where if you legalized it, it's not like people would say, hey, this is legal now, I should smoke a bunch and then decide to drive. Can you talk about your feeling on the safety of the roads and where your feeling comes from that this will lead to more fatalities?
Well, certainly the one thing that leads us to believe it is the statistic we keep using out of Colorado. First year they legalized marijuana, spike in fatal car accidents, where the operator was under the influence of marijuana. All right, may have been under the influence of other things, but marijuana was also in their system or solely in their system, one or the other. That spiked 74% in year one. 74% fatal car accidents, not car crashes, fatal car crashes. So again, that's one thing. Sure. I mean, there are people who are doing illegal things. Whether they're illegal or illegal, we'll still do them. But my point is, once it is legalized, the folks who are law-abiding citizens, not all of them, but there is a group of them, and statistics prove this, that yes, it's legal, so now I can try it.
Yeah.
Just like, and I know people disagree with me, but I can tell you firsthand, there are, 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds who've never drank before, and they try drinking when they turn 21 because it's legal. Sure. So, I don't totally agree with that.
And by the way, that crowd is not going to be your drinking and driving crowd, because if they waited till 21 because of the legalities of it, they are far more law-abiding.
They're going to lock themselves in a basement to drink.
I don't want to get into this back and forth at all, but I just want to throw this out there. I spoke with an official in Colorado about exactly what you're talking about with the fatality, that the stats that are coming out of Colorado. The problem you have with this is that this person who is with the governor's office and somebody who's on both sides of this, really unsure whether this is good or it's bad for Colorado, but said there is no way statistically you can come up with accurate results of a survey in 1 year based on the legalization of marijuana. And what he said is that you have anti-marijuana people in Colorado who used numbers and skewed them to their benefit. So what he's saying is we will not know the true effects on the legalization of marijuana in Colorado for 10 years because there's so many different aspects of this and the data in order to make it accurate. And I think I agree with that. I'm just throwing that out there as something that someone who I think seems pretty independent from Colorado is saying those numbers are skewed.
And again, the numbers we are using, when sheriffs are speaking, we're not using solely independent sources who may be on one side of the issue or the other.
Right.
A lot of our data comes from a HIDA study, and that's the federal government studying this issue.
What he's saying is the problem is that you now have increased traffic. You now have all of these other elements that are playing a part in these numbers. So it's hard.
Again, I guess it's like a president. I mean, we make opinions on how well President Obama has done with his time, or how bad he's done. We won't truly know it, and you're correct in part of that. You won't truly know until a decade or two from now when you.
Right.
And I don't disagree with you there, but my point is, coming from a law enforcement perspective, and at the end of the day, this is still against federal law too. So we've got to get that issue. Okay,
I agree. This is a huge problem for. I mean, it's a huge problem for the big problem for law enforcement. Forget traffic. Is that with the feds being against it, they can't put their money in the bank, and now you have huge sums of money being stored in safes, and it is opening the door. It's yet another area where the state and the feds are not on the same page here, which creates real problems for people on the ground.
And I think that's why things have to slow down so we can get this to work. I know it's a hot topic, but like I said, I feel strongly. There's no one that's going to change my mind. I've got people who call me on both sides of the issue. I've got people who are sending me threatening mail. I got people who are putting messages on social media. But I truly believe, and I guess at the end of the day, for Rob Mashel, who's elected as the sheriff of this county, when I put my head on the pillow at the end of the night, my conscience is clear that I believe I'm doing the right thing.
Yep.
I truly believe that. But and again, like I said, I go back to a general term where I truly believe that I take an oath to keep our community safe, and if this happens, our community will be less safe. So those that disagree will always disagree. Same thing. Those on our side, you're probably not going to change their mind, and I get it. And that's what it's all about, though. It's built on debate, but we're, at least I think we're going to get a chance to get our side out a little bit more and a little bit slower, maybe even a little more accurate.
And you might notice that when I was talking about the official from Colorado that disagreed with you, I made it very clear he disagreed with you, not me. I wanted to make that very, very clear. A couple more quickies and we'll let him go.
I just want to add one thing. I know I peppered the sheriff with a few questions there, but I don't want to seem like I'm advocating for the legalization. We've talked about this before, and actually, if I were to pick a side, I would probably be on the decriminalizing side, but not on the legalization side. I just want to be clear. I'm not.
I think
how stupid do you have to be to threaten the sheriff?
Yeah, that's pretty dumb. I would say, though, that the fact that this has slowed down so that it can be discussed, that rules and regulations can be put into play. There are a lot of things out there. It's like, for instance, if decriminalization doesn't come along with it, the guy who's growing it in his basement or wherever he's growing it could very well still be breaking the law, and somebody could be ticketed, not necessarily arrested.
That's the other issue.
Yeah.
Our people, when I say our people, the people on the front lines who are dealing with issues of all kinds every day, they're not going to be able to tell if Joe Schmo bought this legally or illegally.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're basically going to be forced to throw up our hands and say, okay, it
must be legal.
So you can buy it legally. You can buy it illegally on the black market with paying no tax, which more people will do, okay, because they're not going to want to pay the 20%, because we can't tell if you bought it legally or illegally.
Right.
What are we going to be tax stamps on marijuana packaging?
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. Come on. Or the people who are growing in their backyard. I mean, it's just going to be the floodgates will open. And the revenue stream that is expected and proposed is not going to come to fruition. And it's like I said, it's unfortunate that we want to fill a budget gap with legalizing something that's been illegal.
Well, it's going to be interesting, and I don't think it is a terrible thing to just pause, to be able to let all sides be heard, and to come up with some logical path forward, because there are so many different areas that need to be addressed before this just all of a sudden becomes legal.
Exactly.
I guess,
mean, I'm sending people away right now I've done two things so far in anticipation of it being legalized so that I can be ahead of the game a little bit if it happens. I'm sending deputies away for training to become certified as drug recognition experts. The only way we can determine on the roadside, because there is no technology. That's the difference here. Alcohol exits your system relatively quick. I mean, if you're twice the legal limit as far as alcohol goes, and you're at one point, when you peak at night, within 10 hours, that's out of your system. Marijuana's in your system 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. So when we stop someone, unless we can easily detect the odor of the marijuana, like we can detect the odor of an alcoholic beverage, we're not going to be able to tell. Did that person smoke dope 6 hours ago, 10 hours ago? So are they truly impaired by this? We don't know. So, again, we're sending people away. I believe this time the out-of-state training is in Arizona. So I'm going to have folks out of town for 2 weeks in another state halfway across the country, paying them their wages there, their hotels, their meals, their lodging. Back here, I've got to pay someone overtime to cover their shifts. That's just to certify a couple of deputies. We also just purchased a new drug dog. The dog was delivered recently. Going to be going underway with his training here soon. That dog cost us $8,000. Now, luckily, I didn't have to use taxpayer dollars. I'm able to use forfeiture funds to purchase that dog. But my point is, just this in itself, just to prepare, I mean, I'm going to have tens of thousands of dollars wrapped up into something just to get me started with this. And that's only the beginning. And like I said, there's no reimbursement plan. There's nothing in the budget from the state to reimburse the counties for their extensive expenses that we're going to face when this happens.
All right, and if I could, I don't want to seem as if I'm ambushing you, but this topic is right here when, of course, last week we were dealing with Mr. Geruzzi, and I just wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions on that. He is the Stop DWI coordinator. First off, was there an investigation going on? Was this just a routine stop, or was this the result of an ongoing investigation into his activities?
This particular incident was a routine stop.
Okay.
The county is big. I mean, as you know, we are active partners in the Stop DWI program, the sheriff's office. I have 2 deputies full-time that are assigned as members of our DWI unit. They're on the streets every single day, and it's not unusual for us to be making stops, because people have asked me, why is the sheriff's office doing traffic stops in the city of Utica? The last I checked, the city is inside Oneida County. So, and again, we try to focus our attention on areas where there isn't a specific designated law enforcement agency, but there are many times that we do law enforcement services where there are police agencies. So, and again, that was a very unfortunate situation. He is a friend of mine, and I know him very well through, like I said, friendship, through the sports arena, and it's a sad situation.
And I want to address exactly what you're saying here, and I was going to bring that up. This is somebody who's a friend, but I also know you are someone that takes this job very seriously. I see you as just in your conversations on marijuana, and how personally offended, if you were you? I mean, this is cocaine, and this person is going into schools, and he's going into. How did this affect you personally?
Well, it's troublesome because, like I said, not only am I friends with him, but at the same time, this his office and he himself personally has worked side by side with my community affairs office, since I've been the sheriff, and side by side going in schools and community events. So that is very, I guess the word is disappointing.
Yeah.
At the same time, this is a perfect example of how the drug addiction problem in our community, in our country, it affects everyone. I mean, it affects all walks of life.
Yep.
I mean, we see it every single day, and that's what we talked about in the forum last night. There are no boundaries. I mean, there are none. People from solid backgrounds, from weak backgrounds, people that might be wealthy, people that might be poverty-stricken. It doesn't matter. And I think the important thing here is when we see an opportunity, to get our message out about education, about substance abuse treatment, and we talk about enforcement because it is a component of it, but it's no longer the only component of it. I mean, years ago, we would just arrest people, and you know what, they're on their own. But we have an obligation, whether it's assisting people in treatment, long-term treatment, the heroin issue we're dealing with. I mean, we're part of OD mapping now. We have live time information when someone overdoses. We are tracking all that here locally through the Crime Analysis Center. When there's an opportunity where we can send peer support people out to people who have overdosed, try to get them into treatment. I mean, that's we've shifted the way we do business here, and like it's definitely something that it's affecting, like I said, every walk of life, and that's what's scary here. So, you might see me out at all kinds of public events. I'm out all over the place. The only thing you're ever going to see in my hand is a non-alcoholic beverage. I don't drink.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I might overeat on occasion. But again, I have an obligation, and I want to live up to the reputation that I have. And if I'm telling someone don't do something, I certainly don't want to be the guy that's doing it. So I'm trying to do my best. And don't get me wrong, I am not perfect. I am far from it. I am not perfect. We all make mistakes. But I think it's important that we do the best we can to lead by example.
Sheriff Rob Mashel, we covered a lot of ground, and we always appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right. Have a great day.